Love it or hate it, the Cat in the Hat movie left quite an impression. The tie-in game? Well, it's a whole different story and not in a good way. I'm Joe, an ex-gaming industry pro, and today we're answering the phone City Morgue and reviewing the nightmarish Cat in the Hat game for the PS2. It's not quite the fever dream that the movie was, but it also wasn't as whimsical as the children's books either. Released in 2003, the Cat in the Hat is based on the live-action movie starring Mike Myers, which in turn is based on the beloved Dr. Seuss children's book. But while the book and the movie had their own kinds of charm, both very different from each other, this game is neither. What you get is a pretty standard 2.5D platformer with a few flashes of creativity buried under a lot of mediocrity. You're hopping through household objects, chasing the evil Quinn through Zeus-like worlds filled with weird creatures and living appliances. At its core, the Cat in the Hat is a pretty basic platformer. You control the cat as he jumps through magical Zeus-like environments, collecting magic, unlocking bonus levels, solving puzzles, and defeating enemies along the way. The platforming itself is functional, but nothing to write home about. The puzzles in combat are also nothing to write home about, and things get repetitive pretty quickly. The story loosely follows the movie. The cat has to recover the scattered pieces of a magical crab lock, all while Conrad and Sally do absolutely nothing except block your way and look like they've been left in the oven for too long. All this is to stop the antagonist, Quinn, who in the movie just wanted to get with their mum, but in this game is on an absolutely bizarre quest, which we'll get into later on. But the narrative is really just an explanation for the gameplay. The cat is voiced by someone trying to sound like Mike Myers.
I bet you swim backwards around the bowl just to make your life interesting.
It doesn't quite land. But here's a twist. The fish is voiced by Nolan North.
These are special switches. If you slam down...
No, that's not a funny bit I'm doing. He's not the only star here either, but let's move on before I start bringing up IMDb pages. First things first, the in-game models are ugly. If you've seen the live action movie, you know the Cat in the Hat was already teetering on the edge of nightmare fuel. Now imagine that, but worse, and in low poly. When I started playing, it was actually kind of fun for the first 20 minutes, but as is tradition with these tie-in games, the more you play, the quicker you realise the magic fades fast. But that's just my initial impressions. Let's get deeper into this mess. Starting off with the umbrella mechanics. It's supposed to spice things up so the game isn't just you walking around collecting things and jumping. You can glide, trap enemies in bubbles, and ground slam. Well, that's pretty much all there is to it. It tries to add some depth with puzzles where you use the umbrella to manipulate goo. You break blockages, open new paths, yada yada. But the puzzles aren't engaging and they mostly just feel like busy work. It does try to excite you when it introduces boss battles. You're thinking that you've stumbled across Dark Souls here, but then it turns out they're the most simple battles. It's also the same boss every time. Remember Quinn? Remember his quest in the movie to become all-powerful with magic? No? I could swear that was in the movie. Right around the point where Paris Hilton showed up? Yeah, it's as bizarre as it sounds. I still have no clue what his endgame is. Neither does the game, apparently. But I should mention he's voiced by Soldier76.
As the saying goes, I'll be back, cat.
So maybe his goal is going for a play of the game. He's also your boss battles, all of them, which is, let's just say, not the highlight of the game. The last fight was challenging, but only because the collision detection was not just wrong, but stupid and ugly, just like your... The game tries to keep you engaged with collectibles and bonus levels, but all the bonus levels are basically the same concept, the Cat in the Hat and the Temple of Doom. The collectibles are just pictures from the movie and concept art. Yeah, just use Google, to be honest. There was one bonus level that was actually fun and creative, but you never see that level of imagination again. No. It's like they had one good idea and then ran out of steam. And it's the same with features like the rocket that can transport you over to another section of the level. It's very simple but shows off more of the world and adds a bit of character. But it disappears after like the first level. This is where I'd normally show a compilation of my pain and suffering. I could have played this, but I did this for you, so hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy my misery. Overall, the gameplay is boring after the first 10 minutes or so, and the issues become clear quickly. However, I will say, if you were looking for an all-star platformer, then you shouldn't expect it from a Cat in the Hat movie tie-in. And I guess a counterpoint to what I've said so far is this game was probably aimed at a younger audience. But that won't stop me, so let's move on to the visuals. The game does an okay job of translating Dr. Zeus's world into 3D. The creatures and oversized props fit the Zeus theme, but the levels themselves are repetitive. And the character models? Also, who even is this in the cutscenes? That's not the Cat in the Hat. Hey, Rhode Island license plate. You never see those. The sound design doesn't save it either. The voice acting is trying to channel Mike Myers, but it falls flat.
You'd think this guy would have learned by now.
The cat's quips are like watered down PG versions of the movie's jokes.
What do you know? You drink from the same bowl you swim in.
Why not just use the original lines from the film? And the rest of the sound effects? Let's just say they're not really that memorable. This is usually where I go into detail about the story. Well, I've covered it. Alec Baldwin is on a quest for world domination, and the only thing that can stop him is a 6-foot-tall cat. If that isn't the selling point, I don't know what is. So, is the Cat in the Hat worth revisiting in 2024? A little voice inside of me is saying maybe, but I can barely hear that little voice because an even louder little voice is screaming, definitely not! The creativity is definitely there in some places, but overall, the game just doesn't hold up. The gameplay gets repetitive fast, the level design is bland, and the voice acting doesn't hit the mark. For younger gamers or those who just want a simple platformer, it might be worth a few minutes of fun. If you're someone who's just looking for a nostalgia hit, go ahead. But I recommend everyone should watch the peak of cinema that is the movie. The movie has a bizarre hold on me for how quotable, absurd, and chaotic it is. It even caused the ban of all future live-action Dr. Zeus adaptations, which is peak chaos. But the game doesn't live up to this reputation at all.
Never has so much been owed by so many to one cat.
If you enjoyed this review and want to see more fever dreams, hit that like button and subscribe. Until next time, have a good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you are, wherever you are, and see you next week for lightning fast action.